Okay, welcome everyone as we learn the Mishna Yomis. And we have the schia of learning about the Soul Azazel, which the Rambam says is mechaper even without tshuva. We know that there's some things that we do that's very tough to do tshuva on. Well, it says, when you learn about the Oila, it says if you bring an Oila. So when you learn about the Soul Azazel, it says if you do the Soul Azazel, which is mechaper even without tshuva. So it's a very, very, very big schia. We are holding by Mishnah Hay and Vav in the 6th parak, as we are sponsored Le'ili Nishmas Rabbi Rachmil Gershon ben Reb Tzvi Yehuda and Lefu Shalei Mefeli Yom Moshe Mechai Sarah by the Fisher family, Le'ili Nishmas Basi Bas Rabbi Shalom ben Avram Alevi Perel Bas Ruvain, and sponsored by Yog Klugman and family, that they should have Gesund, Parnasa, Nachas, everything wonderful. So Rabbi say, we said that there were 10 booths from the Yerushalayim till the cliff, and the Mishnah tells us now, Al Kol Sukkah v'Sukkah, by each booth, they stop and Oimrim Loi, they tell the Ish Iti, who is taking the long trek from Yerushalayim to the cliff, fasting, Harei Mazon v'Harei Mayim, here is food, here is water. If you need to break your fast, you can, because you are doing the mission for Klal Yisrael, which is Deicha the fasting, as Tiferes Yisrael says. But the fact that he had pas b'salai, bread in the basket, so to speak, was enough. Never did the Ish Iti have to stop to eat. And a different group escorted him from one booth to another booth. Remember, there was a tchum between one booth and the next, so the same group could not go. They only could go to the booth. And before Yom Kippur, a minion of people stayed in each booth, and they escorted him to the next booth. If you remember, the last booth was 2 mil from the cliff, and therefore they could only go half the way. He was allowed to go to Chutz L'Tchum again because he was on a mission of Klal Yisrael. So Chutz Me'achroin, except for the last booth, Shebahen, She'ena Magiyim Le'Tzuk, they can't go all the way to the cliff. They could only go 2,000 amas. So therefore they stood at a distance, and they watched what he did. What did he do when he arrived at the cliff? So if you remember, we said that they tied on the head of the sar a red string. Now he takes the string, splits it in half. Half of it he ties to a rock at the top of the cliff. And half he ties between its horns. And this is because if we are zeicha, the red turns white. He didn't tie it all on top of the rock because we're afraid that maybe if he does that, it might turn white right away, and then he'll neglect to push it off the cliff. He doesn't tie it all to the goat because we're afraid that it might push down and fall in a way where we can't see the thread. So he ties half to the top of the cliff and half between his horns. Chetzia kosher basela, half on a rock, the chetzia kosher ben shtei kronov, and half between its horns. Udechafay la'achurav, and then he pushes it from behind. He doesn't push it from the front because the animal might dig in his heels and not go down. Also, I would imagine it was more compassionate to push him from behind. V'hum is galgal v'yayrein, and it rolls down and falls down. He didn't reach half the height of the cliff until it was dashed into different limbs. Then the Ish Iti, he returns to the last booth until nightfall. He doesn't go, even though when he goes to the last booth, he's going 4,000 amas, he's going out of the tchum, and now he's not doing a mitzvah anymore, but we don't make him stay out in the open because once it starts getting dark, it's dangerous to stay out in the open in the desert, and therefore we allow him to return to the last booth. Now the Ish Iti, he becomes tamei, and the clothing on him become tamei. When does that happen? At what point the begotten that he's wearing become tamei? Mishiyetze chutz l'chaymis Yerushalayim, when he gets out of the walls of Yerushalayim. Reb Shimon Omer only mishas t'chiyasei latzuk, when he pushes it off the cliff. Rabbi Yisai, we want to thank you for joining us from the Mishna Yomis. Remember that there will be a shir before Shabbos also entitled For the Shabbos Table, Shlach. So give a look for that. I'm going to put it, of course, on Torah Name Time, on Kol Haloshin. It'll be on Facebook, and it'll be on YouTube. Also, look at the new shiurim on YouTube, on Pirkei Avos. There are 2 shiurim on this week's Pirkei Avos that I just put up on YouTube. If you would like to sponsor a shir, 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. That's rmmwsi@aol.com. Thank you for joining us. Have a good Shabbos, a wonderful Shabbos.